A simplex converted to a Great Western Railway Prairie Tank Part 105, changing the injector check valve, remachining the top cap of the new part, fitting the ashpan and making the cab floor. And I'm thinking at Part 105 enough is enough. It's taken a long time to make this thing right. I knew what I was taking on when I actually bought this from the customer, and the length of time it's taken to put this right exceeded my initial estimate. Even now there are still things to do. I'm going to change the check valve. The injector's check valve was definitely not working and sticking very badly, so I thought, well, rather than mess about with the old one, I'll just fit a new one. It's difficult to video this operation because all you can see is my hand. But eventually the old check valve was removed, and here it is. Oddly enough, after removing this valve, which took quite a while, the ball is not stuck on the seat. I think that maybe one of the problems was that this check valve was screwed really tightly into the back head. This could have distorted it. I'm going to clean it with some gun wash, and then I will be able to take a closer look at the valve seat. I've poured a small amount of gun wash into an aerosol cap, and here, as you can see, I've dropped the check valve into the mixture. I'll stir it up a bit and leave it for a while and see what happens. Here is the replacement check valve, a brand new one, but the other one was a brand new one before I fitted it to the locomotive. What I have to do is machine the top cap to be a little bit thinner than it is. I'm using my Myford ML7R for this job. You will notice that the check valve is screwed into a union nut which is clamped tightly in the chuck. This is a good way of doing it because the pressure that the chuck puts on the union nut really nips it tightly against the threads. I'm being very careful not to take too deep a cut, or else the whole thing will be destroyed. As far as lathes go, the Myford ML7R is quite delicate and very good for these sort of jobs. After machining the top cap to the size that are required, I used some emery cloth, followed by my polishing spindle to make the cap shine. Here's a clip showing the inside of the old check valve, and as you can see it's quite black down there. The ball was either sticking to this check valve because of limescale or some other impurity in the actual valve. It could have been some oil that got into the boiler when I was compressed air running it, because my compressor does output a little bit of oil. Or I suppose the brass could have been attacked by anything left in the boiler from the silver soldering operation when it was manufactured. This check valve is going to be deposited in my box of old check valves. What I need to do now is fit the new one in place, and here it is with the shim washers on the end. It took 3 shim washers to make this sit in the right position, and here I'm carefully applying some Loctite 542 to seal the thread. Here's a shot of the orifice where the check valve is going to be fitted, and here it is after the check valve has been fitted. It just needs tightening a little bit more to square it up. I'm having a bit of a clumsy day today. I get these from time to time. I'm sure we all do. As I picked up the box of shim washers and various 5/16 parts, it fell on the floor and the parts went everywhere, and it took quite a while to find all of the parts and pick them up. But eventually that tedious job was completed, and now for another tedious job, fitting the ashpan. The ashpan is the worst part of this locomotive. I have used the original one, but really it needs a new one. Here I'm using my micrometer to find the diameter of the pin that you pull out to drop the fire. It's also known as a dump pin. For obvious reasons, you pull it out and the fire's dumped onto the ground. I need to make a fire grate support, so I'm using a piece of stainless steel. Here I've just marked it to length, then it's over to the lathe, because I need to turn the ends of this piece of bar to a size that will fit into the holes in the ashpan. First I did one end, then I turned it round in the chuck and turned the other end. This is not a precision part, by the way. I fitted the mounting in position in the ashpan itself, and here I'm using a hammer to just peen over the edges, and this will securely hold the part in place. Now it's time to clean up the end of the dump pin, and here I'm using a knurling tool to cut a deep knurl on the end to assist removal. Here's a better angle to show how it's done. You press the knurling tool against the work, leave it running for a while, then it looks like this. A bit of an improvement, I think. I fitted the dump pin in position and everything was fine. And now with a fully secure ashpan, I need to make the floor for the cab. This is the original flow for the cab that I had to cut down slightly because my piping is a bit different to the original. Here I'm using some cyanoacrylate adhesive to stick some mahogany to the plate. A bit of the plate was bent at the end, so here I'm straightening it out with a small hammer. The good thing about using cyanoacrylate adhesive or super glue is it sets really quickly, and very soon I could finish the job starting with trimming the mahogany to the right size. The job was finished off by rubbing in some outdoor polyurethane varnish. This is just to seal the wood. I didn't want to varnish the wood with a paintbrush, that would be pointless. On a full-size locomotive, the floors are nowhere as neat as this. I spent 3 very happy days at different times on the footplate of 3 locomotives. One was a Great Western Railway pannier tank, the other one was an LMS Ginty, and the third one, and by far the best, was an LMS Black 5. As a concession to the fact that this is a model, and if I make a really scruffy floor, people are going to say, "Oh, the floor looks a bit scruffy," I fitted my posh mahogany floor in position, and now at last I can fit the rest of the cab roof, because the main part of the rebuild is complete. Yes, there will be a coal-fired test, but it's not easy really, because I have to get this from my workshop into the garden on a suitable nice day, and I cannot do this single-handed. It is a bit of a transformation. Have a look at these earlier photographs. The original old boiler was very leaky and had been removed. This was a brand new boiler bought from the steam workshop. When you take on jobs like this, you have to be aware just how much work you will need to do. And don't forget, in this series I've not been building the engine, I've just been rebuilding it. I didn't have to make too many parts. I think it was probably worth it just for the video. I'm sure a lot of people who've been watching this series are a lot wiser as to how to rebuild, refinish, or maybe build from scratch a model steam locomotive. Yes, it could have been better, but nothing's perfect. It certainly looks a lot better than it does in the previous photographs. This is a hobby that can turn into a major obsession very easily. I speak from experience. My recommendation to everyone out there is try and keep some sort of restraint and control. Oh yes, and stay well. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.